So this story is a true story about kind of a difficult time in my life. The summer of 17, I was going through a lot. I had my first real girlfriend, pretty exciting. And I had not done well in Chinese class this particular year in high school. I got a C. And my mom decided that the best thing for me would be to go to Chinese camp to learn, the Chinese skills that I would need to succeed in, in this wonderful Chinese-speaking country that we live in. So, obviously, I'm not excited about the prospect of spending my summer in Chinese camp, but I think it's not going to be that bad. And I was wrong. It was in Fargo, North Dakota, which is, I should have expected it, because obviously that's where Chinese camp would be. And, huge fights, colossal fights. I mean, it was an absolute war that I lost, like every war that I fought with my mom. It's just, a given from the start. And before I knew it, I was sitting on a plane on my way to Fargo, North Dakota for a month at Chinese camp. And at Chinese camp, we weren't allowed to have cell phones. We weren't allowed to have books in English. It was kind of a gulag situation. And, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make the best of this. Everything's gonna be fine, it's gonna be cool, I'll relax. And I'm sitting in my terminal, and I look around, and I instantly pick out every person that is on their way to Chinese camp in Fargo, North Dakota. As you can imagine, there are not a lot of people going from Philadelphia Airport to Fargo. And there was just a gaggle of some of the goofiest kids I've ever seen. And I was kind of a sporty kid. I was like really into wrestling and athletics. And I was instantly like, this is not my crowd, I'm not gonna make it, I'm not gonna survive. So right then and there, I made a decision. And how I came up with this, I don't know, and my psychologist hasn't figured out either. But I decided to fabricate a whole other identity, and that identity is of that I had night terrors. And this is something that it occurred to me because I'd gone to a wrestling camp just 2 weeks prior. I just finished it. One of my friends, God bless his heart, suffered from really crippling night terrors that he would have. And basically, his eyes would roll back in his head, he would thrash around, he would stand up and move around in the dorm. It had been like this big uproar. And everybody had been like, wow, that's crazy. Like, can you believe Chris, did you see his night terrors? And I was like, I can do that. So I'm sitting on this plane thinking about how I'm gonna make it through this month with all these kids that I just so clearly I just couldn't identify with, that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pretend to have night terrors for this whole month just to see what happens. Just no audience, no one to tell it to, no one to share it with whatsoever, just for me, because I needed it. So we land and we take a bus ride 3 hours into the middle of nowhere, Fargo, North Dakota, where there's this ski ground, this cross-country ski camp that has been converted into Concordia Language Villages camp. And I start right off the bat. I move into my cabin and everybody's unpacking. And I just kind of offhandedly said, everybody's getting to know each other, blah, blah, blah. I said, hey guys, just so you know, I have night terrors sometimes. And, just don't make a big deal out of it. Like usually, I'm pretty, I'll just thrash in my bed, it's not gonna be a big deal. And just kind of let me tucker myself out. Don't touch me. Whatever you do, don't get close to me. In fact, try not to make a lot of noise. It hasn't been a real issue, but I did put my friend Tyler in the hospital a few years ago, but nothing's happened since, so it's fine. So all these kids are like king of Chinese camp over here. This kid is weird. I'm not comfortable with this, but they're like, all right, whatever. And I kind of let it go for a few days. And I would go to bed well before everyone else because I wasn't really interested in playing Magic the Gathering. It wasn't really my thing, and that was kind of like the activity of choice. So I would go to bed at 10:30 every night. And about 5 nights in, I brought a decoy phone, and I snuck my other phone in to talk to my girlfriend. And in my underwear, I actually smuggled it in my underwear. So I made a decoy and packed everything up really carefully to hide it. And I have set everything up in motion. I put my cell phone under my pillow and set it for 11:30 when everyone else usually goes to bed. So everybody's getting ready for bed. And my little alarm goes off on my pillow and I turn it off, and it happens. It starts to kick up. And my eyes roll back in my head. I start thrashing a little bit, kicking, and all of a sudden my sheets are all tied up around me, and I start throwing my head back and knocking into the wall, and everyone's like, oh my God, it's happening! Like, you know, some kids weren't there for it, so they didn't know what was happening, but the other ones were like, he's having a night terror, he told us about it! And I'm thrashing all over the place and kicking around. And I did this for like probably 15 minutes until I really just tuckered myself out and fell right to sleep. And that was it. That was it for that night. So it's about 4 or 5 nights in. And everybody, I wake up in the morning, everyone's like, dude, you're freaking out. It was crazy. Like, you were thrashing around your bed, your eyes were like rolling around. I was like, guys, please don't make me deal with this, please. Like, I know, it's like, but it's kind of embarrassing, so can we keep this between us? And they're like, yeah, man, like, totally. And I walk out, and everybody at camp knows about it, which is why I knew that they deserved everything that was coming. So this continues. I just continue to have, like, every few nights, I set my alarm. You know, I go to bed before everyone else. I set my alarm, I wake up, and I thrash around for a little bit, my night terror. And, you know, the kids had, like, really pressured me, and they wanted an out. They wanted to know what they should do if I really freaked out, which they, you know, I was kind of preparing to do. And I said, if I get really bad, the only way to stop me is to put a mirror in front of my face, so I'll snap out of it. So I gave them this little out, and I have a few more night terrors, and one of the kids, Andy in particular, is this little 5'3", he's this Jewish kid from New York who's just, he's like riddled with anxiety. I mean, the kid vibrates when he's walking around. And he, when I'm having one of my night terrors, he talks to the counselor and he says, Rob, I can't sleep with this kid in the room. Like, he said he put his friend Tyler in the hospital. Like, it's really bad. And Tyler been like, yeah, man, like, this is kind of freaky. I'll talk to the nurse and we'll see if we can move to the nurse's quarters. And I'm night terroring and thrashing around in my head. I'm going, no, I don't want to sleep in the nurse's quarters. This isn't happening. So the next day, I pulled Rob aside and I said, like, hey man, can I talk to you? You know, all the counselors here are college kids that spoke Chinese. I pulled him aside and I'm like, hey Rob, can I talk to you for a minute alone in private? He was like, yeah. So I pulled him aside and I said, Rob, it's about my night terrors. And Rob was like, oh man, yeah, I know all about it. We're, you know, we're talking about moving you, blah, blah. I'm like, no, Rob, they're not real. And Rob looks at me and he's, what? Why? Why would you make that up? What is wrong with you? And I was like, oh, I can't stand it here. It's the only thing that gets me through the day is freaking these kids out at night. Just bear with me. Don't move me to the nurse's quarters. And Rob was like, that is the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard. Totally, dude, if you need me to do anything for you, like, I'm in, like, whatever you want. So I was like, perfect, now I have an ally. And I was like, but Rob, you can't tell anyone about this. This is our little secret. Like, yeah, totally, our secret. So, like, we walk out of the room and he's throwing winks at me, non-stop, like he's got a nervous twitch. And before I know it, every counselor at camp is, like, nudging me. And I was like, all right, this, you know, they ended up keeping it on lock. And none of the kids find out about it till the last day of camp. And I had my most epic night terror of all time. I've been ramping it up gradually, and the kids had, like, torn through the place looking for mirrors at this point. Like, the whole, like, cabin has been destroyed. They tried to take a mirror off the wall to put in front of me to stop my rampage. And this last night, before we went away, all the kids decided to pull an all-nighter, but not me. I went to bed early, just like always. And I get up at about 1:30 in the morning, and I walk up to the door that leads into the living room area, and I kick the door open and run in and start chasing kids all over the door, and they're freaking out. And finally, I chase Andy down the hallway into, like, to the woods, like basically where the cabin opens up at the woods, and I corner him, and Andy's crying, and he's going, no, Andy, please! And the other kids are running looking for mirrors. I pin Andy up against the wall, and he's going, ah! And I go, I'm just kidding. And Andy goes, why would you do that? And that was the story of how I kept myself sane at Chinese camp. Thanks, guys.